They did not hang him. They did not burn him. Instead, they lowered a man of royal blood into a cask filled with wine. His last sight was not fire or steel, but the crimson swirl of liquid closing over his face. This was the fate of George Plantagenet, Duke of Clarence. George was no common criminal. He was the brother of King Edward IV, once a Prince of York and a man who dreamed of crowns. His death would not be a swift cut of the axe. It would be something far stranger, a punishment both secretive and grotesque. A drowning not in water, but in wine. The Wars of the Roses tore England apart. Lancaster fought York, cousin fought cousin, and thrones were claimed with rivers of blood. George stood in the center of this storm, shifting allegiance like a man walking on breaking ice. His ambition was vast, but his loyalty fragile. At first, he served his brother Edward loyally, marching under the banner of York, but envy gnawed at him. He resented Edward's power and the closeness of others to the king. In whispers, he dreamed of a crown of his own. These whispers would one day echo loud enough to destroy him. George betrayed Edward. He joined forces with the Earl of Warwick, the so-called kingmaker, to place another man on the throne. For a time, Lancaster ruled again, and George believed fortune had favored him. But when the tide turned once more, he crawled back to Edward's side. For a while, he was forgiven. Royal blood excused his treachery. But George could not silence the hunger in his heart. He conspired again, this time weaving plots, accusing rivals of witchcraft, poisoning trust at court. Each act chipped away at Edward's patience until it was gone. Finally, one plot too many broke him. Accused of conspiring against the crown and spreading rebellion, George faced trial. Yet trials for nobles were not justice, but ceremony. Parliament condemned him swiftly. His guilt was already decided, his fate sealed by ink and brotherly betrayal. But how to kill a duke? Hanging was for thieves, beheading was for traitors, but too public, too messy for a man so close to the throne. Edward chose a quieter cruelty. His brother's life would be ended not by sword, but by drowning, and the instrument of death would be wine. It was a choice steeped in irony. George was known for indulgence, especially in Malmsey, a sweet wine prized by the nobility. To make that same drink his executioner was both mockery and punishment. His death would be kept from the crowds, yet whispered louder than any spectacle. Imagine the chamber, cold stone walls, torches casting amber shadows, the air heavy with damp. Servants rolled in the cask, its oak darkened with age. The smell of ferment filled the room before the act began. For George, this was no banquet, it was his coffin. They forced him down. The vat was deep, the liquid dark and thick. At first, he gasped as the wine closed over his mouth, struggling to draw air, but each gasp dragged liquid into his lungs. Sweetness turned to fire. He clawed, thrashed, desperate for breath, but the hands held firm. Drowning is a cruel death. In wine, it is worse. The liquid coats the throat, fills the chest, and burns as it drowns. His cries dissolved into muffled gurgles. His eyes bulged as torchlight flickered on the rippling surface. Then, slowly, the thrashing weakened. It was not over quickly. His body fought on, jerking against the weight of the liquid pressing inward. Bubbles broke the surface, each smaller than the last. His skin flushed dark, veins swelling against pale flesh. And then at last, silence. A duke smothered in a cask of his own vice. The chamber must have fallen still. No crowd, no roar of approval, only the drip of wine across stone, the labored breath of witnesses. They pulled him out, lifeless, his body slick with the very drink he once adored. The cask stood half-emptied, now a grave soaked with death. His death was hidden from public eyes, but the story could not be contained. Rumors raced through London. Some whispered it was poetic justice. others that it was an abomination. A prince of the blood drowned like a common drunkard, his death equal parts, comedy and horror. The court was shaken. Nobles saw the truth. If a king could order his brother drowned in wine, no bloodline was safe. Power outweighed kinship. Mercy was a mask easily dropped. Clarence's death sent a chill through England, a warning that betrayal would be met with cruelty unbound. And yet, history lingers on the absurdity. Was it mockery or mercy? Drowning left no scars for public display, only whispers to feed legends. A royal execution, both theatrical and secretive, both ridiculous and terrifying. That paradox made it unforgettable. Centuries later, the image persists. A duke flailing in a vat, silken robes soaked in red, drowning not in battle, but in indulgence. A man undone not by sword or flame, but by the very drink nobles toasted with at their feasts. His legacy is a caution etched in grotesque irony. And so we ask, was this cruelty meant to erase his name or immortalize it? Would you have endured such an end with defiance or surrendered to panic as the liquid closed over you? History does not whisper mercy. It records the drowning silence of George of Clarence. If you found this tale unsettling, let us know your thoughts. Which death in history unsettles you most? And if you thought this was grim, wait until you hear of another fate darker still. When oil was used to boil a man alive until his body split from within.